It's music of Bartok. That was featuring Susan Hoeppner on the flute, Canadian Chamber Ensemble led by Chose Komatsu. And Susan Hoeppner is a Canadian flute player, legendary Canadian flute player. And she's highly regarded for her deeply lyrical phrasing, dazzling virtuosity, and something called no-holds-barred approach. I'm going to ask her about that. Sounds like a wrestling move, if you ask me. She's got numerous recordings available on marquee, EMI, center disc, and gramophone. She's graduated from Juilliard, and she's become an esteemed mentor. She's also a current member of faculty of Royal Conservatory's Glenn Gould School. And she's in the studio this morning because she's in town to perform with the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra tomorrow evening. So good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Michael.
Welcome home.
Thank you very much.
Welcome home.
That's right. I was born here.
Yeah, I did. We were just chatting off air, and I just out of the blue, you said, "Hey, I was born here."
That's right.
Wow.
Right. Well, we only
that.
lived here. I don't remember much because I was. We left when I was 2 years old, but then we went to Thompson,
Manitoba.
for
Yeah.
another 3 years, and this was my upbringing in the Mennonite community, and my parents were born in small town Manitoba, and I have many relatives still.
Yeah. So welcome home. It's a pleasure to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I was obviously following your career and reading through your bio. You're incredibly busy. You've got so many different irons in the fire are going on. So you currently live in Toronto. In Toronto.
Yes.
And your main gig is right now
where I'm teaching there is at the Royal Conservatory of Music, or the Glenn Gould School, and also the Taylor Academy, which is for young rising artists, for very extraordinary, talented youngsters, and then as well as the University of Toronto, and that's what's happening in Toronto. Periodically, a concert or two there, mostly outside of the city or the country.
Okay, so what was your inspiration when you were young that you wanted to start playing the flute? Why was it the flute?
Oh, I was so young. I honestly don't remember what the inspiration was, but what I do remember is I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and we all started on piano, with piano lessons. Now, putting my 2 hands together on the piano just didn't quite cut it, talent-wise. So my sister was by then playing flute in school band, and when she brought it home, I think I was attracted to it, maybe the shiny, the bling.
Yes.
And I'd put it together, and I would try to play it. So that's how it kind of started. And then I started getting sounds from it, and there were no curved head joints at that time, so it was like a very tiny child playing a very long instrument. But I made it work. You
made it work, and you're still making it work for sure. So, I mean, growing up in a Mennonite home, typically there's a lot of, sometimes a lot of singing around and a lot of music. Was that the same with your family as well?
A lot of music. We grew up in church, a Mennonite church, and my father, Jake Hoeppner, he conducted the the choir in the church, and then also the orchestra. Like there was you're right, a lot of music, and so we had piano and orchestra and choir. It was beautiful. And then as well in my family, I mentioned I'm the youngest of 5. We all played an instrument, and we sort of had our own little family orchestra. And then my mother and father sang. So we did a lot. Yeah, we were just surrounded by music.
So I imagine Christmases were a lot of fun around your house. Was there a lot of playing of music and stuff like that? Yeah.
Is fun a word I would use?
Hectic, wild.
It was musical.
It was musical. So you're in town to perform a really interesting concert with the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra. There's a real wide variety of music. You're doing Mozart, Concerto for Flute and Harp, along with Emmanuel Sesson. Have you ever, first of all, performed this piece? And second of all, have you ever performed with Emmanuel before?
I've performed this piece a number of times in different places, but this is my first time playing with Emmanuel. So I'm really looking forward to meeting him, to playing this with him, and getting his interpretation of it, because it's exciting. It's something that you've done one way for a long time. All of a sudden there's another way, like a new way, and I like that. So I'm very excited.
I wanted to ask you about this, what it says about your no-holds-barred
I love how you say the wrestling.
Approach. It sounds to me like a wrestling match up there.
Yeah, Emmanuel's in for a treat.
He's a kind man. You want to throw him around the ring. Well, maybe musically it would be kind of fun, but... So what does that mean, no holds barred? Like when you're on the stage, what are you thinking? What's going through your mind when you're playing a piece like that?
You are so no holds barred. I think the way that this description would be is just that you are so in the music, and if it calls for some really, really heavy mood or some like that you just put all of yourself in the performance and taking every risk that you possibly can. I mean, it just makes it the most exciting for yourself as a performer and for the audience. I mean, they may not know anything about music, but they know when someone is putting everything into the performance.
Because they feel it.
Absolutely.
At
Absolutely.
that point, it's more.
Fake that. You cannot fake that.
At that point, it's more about how you feel here in your heart as opposed to what's happening up in your head, right?
I honestly don't know. I'm in the moment, and it's just you're just there, and you're just doing everything that you possibly can. And whether it's classical, contemporary, modern, whatever, you're just putting everything into it.
I'm in conversation with Susan Hoeppner. She's a flute player, and she's in town to perform tomorrow night with the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra. One of the works she'll be doing with Emmanuel Saisons, the Mozart piece. You're also doing a work that was written for you. Yes. When you talk about No Holds Barred, Christos Hatsis wrote this work for you. Talk about how that all came about.
Yeah, this was very exciting, and this is like one of the biggest honors in my life. He and his wife Beverly Johnston have become great friends. We're like family by now, and then there's just such a mutual admiration going on, for all of us. We're just there was a time I was invited to do a performance in Japan, to do a concerto in Kyoto, and I was asked to do this. I said I'd love to do this. I would love to do a Canadian piece. So I asked Christos if the flute concerto he had written years prior, if I could play that, and he wasn't sure if he wanted that one performed, and lucky for me, a big project that he was working on at the time wasn't happening anymore at that moment, and he had some free time, and he said, "Why don't I write you a new flute concerto?" And I said, "No, Christos, of course, of course."
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness, yeah, it was incredible. Incredible. So, as he was, I teach at Domaine Forget every year in
Quebec.
Quebec.
Yeah.
And while I was there, he was sending me some music, sometimes a page, or not a page, but like a couple of pages at a time or something. And so I just had to learn it on the go, and it was incredible. Just incredible.
What was your impression when you first got this work? Was it something that was you felt was quite challenging, or was there something really inspiring?
All of the above. Yeah, his music is always challenging, but it's always inspiring too. Every ounce of effort you put into it. What I love about his music is it touches something down in you so deep. Like there's this I don't know, just a raw primitive place, and it just appeals. It draws me in every single time. So it's inspiring, and every ounce of effort you put into learning the piece is worth it.
Yeah, it's Christos Hatsis. She's going to be performing. Susan's going to be performing the second movement of the. It's work called Departures. It's a flute concerto, and we were talking off air a little bit about the third movement, which people won't hear necessarily tomorrow night, but definitely worth discovering because it's full of the blues.
Yes.
Full of the blues, and almost like a rock feel to it. We're Jethro Tull.
Yes, it's got many Jethro Tull effects. There's some. I don't think I want to do the sounds on the radio, but there's.
That's my best impression.
I wish it were just that. There's somewhere you have to blow into the mouthpiece to get a jet whistle kind of a sound, and then immediately put it back. So that's a huge challenge because you don't knock your teeth. Make sure you don't knock your teeth out. There's a little bit of gymnastics with that piece, but it's just incredible, and it's very, very long. So I think that with the amount of time we had for the concert tomorrow night, we thought this second movement would fit in perfectly.
When you mentioned blowing into the flute like that, the other guy I thought of is Rahsaan Roland Kirk. I don't know if you know him. He's a jazz flute player. you want to check him out. He's amazing as well. Rasan Roland Kirk, he plays saxophone and he plays flute. He plays a lot like sort of that Jethro Tull style. I think you'd probably enjoy him.
Yeah.
So, but the second movement of the Hastots Christos Hatsis is called Serenity. Just describe that work to the audience for a minute so they can get a sense of what they're going to see tomorrow night.
This is something, when I started playing it, it was, I knew it already before I knew whatever notes were coming up. It is just luscious. It is like a beautiful pop song at the beginning. And then there's a little bit of development, something different. It's a little odd. And then it's something like an operatic at the end. And it's takes you through, and every time I play that piece, I get chills. It's just, again, like I said, it just touches somewhere, always.
So what are your dreams over the next number of years? I mean, you've traveled the world, you've recorded with so many great people, you've performed with so many great orchestras. Do you have any goals, say, in the next 5-10 years of something you'd love to do?
I actually have one wish on my bucket list of the musical career, continue doing what I'm doing, of course. And the thing is that I've got very talented students, and they are the new generation of doing what I did when I was at their age, you know. But the one thing that I missed out on, and that really is recording Christos's concerto. The reason I had a car accident right after I did the world premiere, and it's so physical, and I couldn't play for a while. And then someone else, Patrick Gawa, recorded it.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And but that's something that is sort of on my bucket list to do that.
Well, I don't see why it can't be done. I think it's going to happen.
I hope so.
I will. Well, I wish you the best of luck with that, getting it recorded. And have fun tomorrow night performing the middle movement of that and meeting Emmanuel Cesson, no holds barred. No holds barred.
Thank you, Michael.
It's been a pleasure. I've been in conversation with Susan Hoeppner. She's performing tomorrow night as part of the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra's concert. Emmanuel Cesson and Scott Hughes conducting. They're doing Mozart, they're doing some Debussy, and they're also doing work by Christos Hatsis, his flute concerto, the middle movement of his Departures. And you can go to the mco.ca for more information. And you can also go to Susan Hoeppner's website, susanhoeppner.com was the website. Welcome back home again.
Thank you
We'll
so
see you
much,
again.
Michael. Thank you.
I'm going to play a little bit of music now by featuring Susan Hoeppner again from the History of the Tango by Astor Piazzolla with Rachel Gock on the guitar.